Hey everyone, welcome back to Drive On. I'm your host, Scott DeLuzio, and today my guest is Sheridan Taylor. He's a Canadian Army combat veteran of 17 years, a former corrections officer, and a suicide survivor. And Sheridan is a passionate writer who covers topics like mental health, addiction, the stigmatization of mental illness. And today we're going to talk about these issues and learn ways to reduce the harm that they do to us as individuals and to our society. But before we get into all that, Sheridan, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Nice, man. Good to be here. Good to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, so let's take it back a bit to your time in the Canadian Army. Tell us a little bit about your experiences there, how it shaped your experiences and kind of what took place throughout your time in the military.
Uh, wow. Yeah, I entered late. I was in my early 20s when I got in. Um, but that's where I grew up. Like that's where I matured and grew up and became a person worth being.
Yeah,
I didn't have the best examples set to no fault of anybody's, right? It's just the perpetuation of we do what we're shown and we teach what we know, and that's just
sure.
right. So it wasn't until cowboyed up enough to follow my dreams and sign the line, put my hand up, and step forward, and all the hula stuff that I began to actually become who I could be, and instead of settling for who I was. You know,
Hmm.
well, your army has it be all you can be. I think it was. I don't know if it's still
Yeah,
there or not, but that was
right.
and
I,
yeah,
that was actually, as you were saying that, that's exactly what came to mind. Is like, oh, so he was being all that he could be in the
right,
Canadian Army.
right, and
Right.
that's what. So yeah, I learned all kinds of all the awesome cool stuff that we learn in the army, right? I learned the importance of aspiration, of trying to be better, of seeking responsibility, improvising, adapting, overcoming, teamwork. I learned how to be a father in the army. I wasn't a father in the army, but I was a junior, what you guys call NCO in the army
Hmm.
for a long, 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 long time. I was injured at one point, and I couldn't go be put on courses that would lead to promotion.
Oh, okay.
Mostly because I
Yeah.
was too damn stupid to just do what I was told by the medical
Sure.
professional, so I'd get better, and then I push too hard and get worse, and just anyway. So I learned how to be a father, I learned how to be a dad because I learned leadership. I learned that my troops are not going to do what I tell them to do because I'm not doing what sergeant's telling me to do. I'm doing what he's showing me,
That's right.
and my troops would do what I showed them. And if I wanted them to be a certain kind of soldier, then I better fucking be that soldier for them,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
Um, and that came into play decades later when I became a father and began to realize that um, I was setting an absolutely terrible example, and my kid was going to grow up to do what I was doing and not what I was going to tell him. So I better start making changes. Um, the army, I missed it I missed parts of it every single day. I missed a lot of it every single day, and I, it's a weird thing. In a way, I regret my service. I regret that despise what my country's become and how it's thrown away all the ideals that I enlisted for. Um, but I don't regret the good I did. I don't regret um, who I became, what I learned. I don't regret, you know, responsibility, sacrifice. I miss my brothers every day, and I don't call them.
Right.
Yeah. I miss them every day. We never talk. But we do talk. You say the same thing. I miss you, man. I miss you too. We never talk. So I gotta tell you, like three of them live in town. They live in town. We never talk. But I miss them. Uh, I got to do a lot of really cool stuff. I knew that when I would get up in the morning, when I woke up, I knew that no matter how much the day may suck or how boring big parts of it are gonna or whatever, I knew that there's gonna be something cool happen today. I'm gonna do something cool.
Yeah.
Jump out of an airplane, blow something up, I'm going to do something cool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it with some really cool guys and a couple assholes. And it's going to be all right.
Yeah. I remember when I was in basic training and we got on the 50 cal range and we were learning how to shoot that. I got down behind the gun and I got ready to start shooting. I was like, holy shit, they're paying me to do this. I was like, I would go and pay to do this someplace, like any other time I would go and pay to do this. But they are actually paying me to learn how to do this. Hell yeah, this has got to be the best job in the world.
I had a realization a couple of days ago. I was sitting there just in, I don't know, something mundane, folding my kids' laundry. I don't know, something super boring and mundane and housewifey. And I realized my country used to give me grenades. What are you thinking? And then you would put me in charge of people, lunatics just like me, younger, and put me in charge of them and give them grenades. What the fuck are you guys thinking? I missed that, like,
Yeah.
give me grenades. Like, that's getting you gave a chimp a grenade. What are you doing?
Right.
Like,
and everyone like made it out. Like we somehow survived all that. Like I didn't belong having a grenade in my hands, and I could point to quite a few other guys who probably didn't belong having a grenade in their hands either. And we came out with all of our limbs attached too,
But yeah, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I got out when I was in my I was medically discharged in my early 40s. So there's a period of like a 40-something-year-old, 16-year-old with grenades. Like, what are you?
Yeah. Right.
Automatic weapons.
Yeah.
I missed the Army.
So you talked about that, getting out. How was that transition period for you getting out? That with the medical discharge. So a lot of times that is unexpected, and you don't really have the prep time to kind of like, hey, what's next? What am I going to do when I grow up, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was devastating, honestly. First of all, I with no names, no pack drill, right? If I don't,
Sure.
But I've been injured quite badly for a while, and my battalion, the 3rd Battalion of my regiment, the Princess Patricia Canadian Light Infantry, we were not criminals or anything, but we do what is necessary to accomplish the mission, not necessarily what is written down in regulation by, each I dotted and each T crossed, right?
Sure.
And so I was still serviceable in many, many aspects, but there was others where I wasn't. So I was just moved around in positions where I could be employed, right? Like at one point, even though I was a very junior NCO, I was being employed in one of the most senior NCO positions in my, right? Just move me around and keep using me to my best of my advantage so that, the battalion has troops on the ground. I'm not going bananas, and everyone we're family, right? We're taking care of family, right? But I knew it was coming. For about 2 years before I got discharged, and I was hiding from the medical system. The battalion was hiding from the medical system. The medical system was kind of doing one of these things as much as it could, right? We're all just kind of like, this is working great. He's doing great. We're all doing good. Nothing's going bad. Then I got dumb and I couldn't hide. I couldn't be hidden and beat it.
It caught up with you, right?
Yeah. So
yeah,
there was a lot of stuff happening there. I'd already gone from being super, super fit and athletic. I was never the strongest or the fastest or the whatever, right? But I was always in the top, percentages, right? So I took a great deal of pride in my physicality, and I lost that for a while. I couldn't even walk for a little while. Spine damage and knee damage, and so I started struggling with identity issues like that. Who am I if I'm not John Rambo and James Bond? Who am I, right? Like,
right.
And that started affecting all kinds of things. And I didn't have the emotional intelligence to be able to deal with feelings and thoughts at the same time, right? So I was out of dealing with a lot of that, and then the actual discharge where it came, even though looking back now, I can recognize fully that was totally for my own benefit. Like, that is my entire chain of command saying, hey, you're really, really, really dumb. And if we don't get rid of you, you're going to kill yourself or worse. So what we're
Right.
going to do here, like we're going to protect you by making you not allow you to do this anymore to yourself, at least not on our dime. I recognize that now, but at the time it was betrayal. I was picked up by my family, my only family I truly loved, right?
Yeah, right.
So I was, so I had that, so loss of identity and loss of family and all that grief that goes along with that. Grief's such a bitch. It's an emotion that we're not taught how to deal with at all.
Right. And a lot of times people associate grief obviously with death, and that's 100% applicable, but that's not the only grief that we experience in life. Like, losing that identity, that you had to grieve that. You had to grieve the loss of that family that you had, right? Um the brothers that you were serving with, the guys that were there with you. Even though one's just across town, you still don't see them often. They might as well be in China,
Right.
at that point, right? Like it could be anywhere. And and that's another thing too you brought up, and I wanted to make a point of this is we do that a lot. I don't know if it's a guy thing or whatever. I know my wife, she'll talk to people, like she'll be on the phone, she'll be texting people, messaging with people that she hasn't seen in years, but she just wants to keep in touch with and all that. And a lot of the guys that I served with, I'm the same way, where we get in touch every once in a while. Like, we may wish each other, Merry Christmas or, something like that. But outside of that, we're not really, in touch all the time. A lot of us, we've moved to different parts of the country and all that kind of stuff too. But still, like, what the we have the technology. We
Right?
certainly can do it.
But I guarantee you, if any one of your brothers show up on your doorstep tomorrow morning, say, "Hey man, I got me a place to crash," you're like, "Yeah, come on
in.
wait."
Yep.
Well, you get a phone call. But hey, meet me at this grid at this time. Bring a shovel and a rope and some tarp. All right.
Ask no questions.
You're there. Right? You're there.
Yep.
You're nervous?
Yep. Yeah, a little nervous because I know some of these guys, right? And
but you're there. You're there.
I'll be there, sure.
But talk to them? No, that's crazy.
Yeah, right. I mean, but when we do talk, it's as if we picked up where we just left off. It's like no time has passed at all, and that's kind of a cool thing too. Is that we're able to do that, and it's not like awkward or weird or anything. We can pick it back up. So. Anyways, I just wanted to make that point because, you're not the only one if you're listening out there that has trouble with this. We all do.
We're all doing it.
So after getting out, you kind of struggle with all that stuff that you were just talking about. Kind of where did that take you from there?
Well, I needed a job, right? Strangely.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
For a lot of reasons. Eating, one of them.
Food.
But,
food's good. Yeah.
Yeah. But there were some conditions, as there always is, right? Because life is life. My wife, at the time, of about not quite 2 decades at that point, was struggling with her own depression, which I wasn't unaware of. And I was batshit crazy at that point. Just decades of stress and trauma built up and not having healthy coping mechanisms. And I was batshit crazy, and she was deeply, deeply unwell, and we were just, we were two people living very, very alone together, desperately wanting each other, unable to bridge that gap. So she was dying. She was, at that point, her eating disorder was killing her. So I got out in 2012, and she died in 2014. There was an overlap where I was on using all of my leave from the Army, and I was working as a corrections officer at that time for several months.
Okay.
I needed a job where I wouldn't be away from her, especially after like a 6-month stint. I needed a job where I could, and of course at the time I only believed I was capable of being a weapon. I couldn't do anything other than that. And I'm only good for violence, right? And it's only where I was comfortable, so I need a job with extreme high cortisol so I can feel normal in abnormal circumstances. So applying to law enforcement, things of that nature, paramilitary things was a default, right? Click, let's do that. I was too bananas to pass the psych evaluation for most law enforcement agencies, and I agree with them now. But I was lucid enough and functioning enough and intelligent enough and all the stuff enough, all the good stuff enough to be a corrections officer from my province, right? What you guys call a state.
Sure.
And so I did that. And that was a terrible mistake for me, and for most people. It doesn't matter which side of the bars you're on, jail isn't for anybody. It just isn't. It's just, It's all awful. It's just awful for everybody, everywhere, all the time. It just is. So transitioning out of the Army was just awful in absolutely every aspect of my life. I was trying to replace that brotherhood identity with corrections, which is not possible. You can't go back. Something is gone. You can't. So none of that worked out well. And I was, as I said, completely lost in trauma and undiagnosed ADHD and depression and anxiety and flashbacks and ugly and awful. I wasn't drinking, at least. By the way, I'm an alcoholic, or at least I was.
Okay.
I was a dry drunk for decades. I didn't drink for decades, but I didn't feel the underlying issues. So what we call a dry drunk. And I lived in terror of alcohol for decades. And then, my wife was dying day by day. I got to the point where, I'd wake up in the morning, we go to work and wonder, like, okay, am I coming home to her or her corpse? Every night falling asleep. What am I waking up to? And then one morning, I walked into her bedroom because she was late for her appointment, and she was dead. It was quiet. It was peaceful on the one hand. And, me and our 3 dogs, so all living things that she loved most, were in the house with her, but she was alone in the bedroom when it happened. I don't know what happened. And that's what, anyway. So, all in all, just awful. And the transition was awful.
Big shit sandwich is
Giant.
pretty much what it was, right? I mean, like you hit all, I think, all the boxes of all the shitty things that can happen. In that, I mean, fortunately you had a job, but it wasn't the best job, right? It wasn't, you got out of the Army for physical, medical conditions, right? And then you go and take a job that requires physical condition to be kind of high up there.
And here's the thing, right? Like, I was so deeply lost in illness. I didn't feel pain. I didn't experience pain. Right? My spine is not connected properly, but I was so lost. I was squatting 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Like,
you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah.
I fractured bones and didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk around in I forget what the Celsius Fahrenheit changes, but like minus 40 degrees Celsius. I could walk around and did often barefoot and shirtless in mid shin beach snow for half an hour at a time. I didn't experience sensation because I was been working so hard for so long to not experience emotions, which are nothing. So for those of you who are listening and don't know what an emotion is, here's some science for you, coming from a grunt.
You're gonna break it down easy for us.
Right? So it will be in the language that I know. There will be some vulgarity and people like me who know what the color of crayons taste like. So that's the reason why they gave me a helmet, right? So emotions are just feelings in our body. They are nothing more than sensations, reactions inside our body, our nervous system, which is our mind, to external stimulus. How do we know when we are hungry? Our body tells us. How do we know when we're tired? Our body tells us. How do we know when we're angry? Our body tells us heart races, muscles tense up, jaw clenches, eyes squint. I'm a fierce, scary, angry man, right? How do I know when
Right.
I'm sad? My body tells me. My eyes begin to leak and my shoulders droop. And how do I know when I'm happy? My body tells me. How do I know when I'm horny? My body tells me. How do I know I'm feeling anything? My body tells me. Well, I was feeling a lot of things I didn't want to feel, called emotions. Gross, right?
Yep.
Emotions are weakness, right? You're meant to have emotions. They be patient to you, troop. You're wrong, Sarge. Had them all along. But the army didn't do it to me. My upbringing did. When, as kids, I was taught. Like, it's changing a little bit now, I think. Maybe it's too far the other way, but as a kid, don't be sad. Don't be
Right.
scared. It was weakness. Don't cry.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I learned that if I, not that, the behavior, I didn't learn to sit, the behavior was bothering my adults because they were emotionally illiterate and unintelligent. Love you, Dad. But first generation vet, by the way.
Sure.
So we have stuff. But yeah, I learned, like, if I cry, if I exhibit feelings of fear or sadness or loneliness or whatever, it will make the adults around me angry. So but I can't stop feeling what I'm feeling. So I mean, there is something inherently flawed with me. I am not just doing bad things. I am a bad thing. That's a lesson that we've been teaching our children for generations, right? And it gets reinforced in certain fields, right? Well, first of all, just being a man at all, right? Men are, in Canada and North America, you're allowed to feel 4 things: hungry, tired, angry, and horny. Anything other than that is weakness.
Right.
We make you feel everything, but you can't exhibit this behavior. You can feel angry, but don't let anybody know. Be demure. Be a lady. Be a rape victim. That's what we teach our women. Way to go, North America. But so yeah, I didn't know how to cope with any of it.
Right.
So I was able to by suppressing emotions for so long, I numbed myself to everything from here down as best I could, so I could do superhuman things at the time. I missed that part. I don't miss being crazy. I like being, functioning. I like not terrifying my children. That's cool,
Yeah.
right? But I do miss being able to be Wolverine.
Right. And so you're putting your body through the ringer, not just in the army, but also in corrections, right? You're doing things that your body should not be doing because it's broken. The body is broken, not you as a person is broken, but your body physically needs rehabilitation, needs time to rest and heal and recuperate, possibly even some surgeries, I would imagine, along the way to fix some of these things, right? But you weren't allowing any of that because, I mean, from neck down, you were pretty much numb, right? And you're not feeling the things that you should be feeling, right? Because of society, because and it's the same thing here. I mean, I don't think the borderline between our countries really makes a difference. I think it's the same situation,
Yes.
where we still have, people who are taught, well, be a man, suck it up, deal with it, rub some dirt in it, you'll be fine. That type of mentality, but that's not helpful at all.
And there's time and a place, right? There's what's called the functional disconnect, right? Adult humans do this, right? Like, whether you're a troop and you have to go do something stupid, scary, dangerous. Oh, look, hey, that guy with the machine gun is shooting a lot of bullets at me and I got to go attack him. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go do that. Turn off the fear or use the fear or whatever, right? Like, disconnect, right? Or you're a paramedic or a nurse and you got to deal with something awful, right? Or you're just a mom, right? And your kid hurts themselves in some awful, gross way. You don't have time to freak out.
Yeah, right.
Scare your kid. You don't want to scare your kid, so you're keeping the comics. They shut off everything. Take care of the child. Then go have a fucking breakdown in the pantry, right? Like
right.
Well, with the functional disconnect, and it's great, especially in trades where you have to face danger and stress and stuff. But no one teaches you to turn it back on, to reconnect, right? So, and this is terrible for cops and paramedics, especially because they're just going from firefight to firefight, right? It's just stress to stress to stress to stress, crisis to crisis to crisis to crisis. So they turn off when they put the uniform on, essentially, and then they never get to turn it back on, and then they're not taught how, and then that becomes default.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with troops that spend too long in a theater of like actual combat, right? No matter how amazing you are as a human being, or I don't know how dumb you are, you have no fear. Like at a certain point, you can't turn it back on.
Yeah,
And
right.
but here's the real problem, right? You can't not experience your emotions because they're just synapses in the brain, synapses, whatever, fucking, synapses in the brain, opening and closing in a certain sequence and allowing certain neurochemicals and hormones. I think it's the same thing. I'm not sure. Neurochemicals to, move up and down the nervous system. That's all an emotion is. It's just synapses, and neurochemicals. So you will experience them, whether you want to or not. You will. And what was happening with me is I would suppress, and then you can't shut off one emotion, right? You shut them all off.
Yeah, right.
Progressively, right? You numb everything until you're just numb. So I would go through periods of depressive episodes where, days and nights on end where I wasn't experiencing any emotion. I couldn't even feel love for my child.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't experience any emotion. And then I would have periods of complete nothing but emotion. I couldn't do anything but feel. And it would explode out of me, usually in rage, because I was taught as a man, right? I'm allowed to be angry.
Yeah,
Anger is useful. Anger is manly. I can be angry, right? And anger is healthy. Anger is it's a useful tool, right? But rage is not, right? Anger is, a well-aimed round. I accomplished my goal, right?
Right.
Anger, right? Why do I get angry? Because something needs to get fucking fixed, right? Fix it, right? Anger, good. Rage is a grenade with the pin pulled and the spoon gone.
Yeah.
It's nobody's friend. It harms everyone. And I was having explosions of rage all over the damn place, on everyone around me.
Yeah, and it's indiscriminate. It doesn't matter if you're in the general vicinity, you're getting attacked by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that all had to stop. So I had to learn what emotion, everything I just said, I had to learn all that over and over and over and over, because I would do good for a while. So, all right, let's back up. Let's back up to 2016, 2 years after my wife's death. My first wife's death. There's a new woman in my life for a very brief period of time. Much younger, astoundingly beautiful. Obviously not that bright, or at least not, well, she's not very bright, but terrible taste in men, clearly.
Sure.
Right? Okay. A man twice her age with the psych profile that thick saying he's bananas. That's Mr. Right. But anyway, we're still together. But yeah, and there's the little man. The little man is now booties on the ground, right? He's here. My first, offspring, and I realized that he's in danger.
Mm-hmm.
There's a threat, and I was trained from infancy. Eliminate threat. You can't eliminate it, run from it, but get rid of the threat. And now the thing that I love most in the entire universe, or there are two things I love in the universe. I guess three, we get to. But this thing that I love most is in danger, and I'm the danger. So, threat.
Yeah.
Eliminate threat. So, for those of you who, trigger warning, we're about to discuss suicide briefly and not in great detail. We're going to talk about it.
Sure. I appreciate that little warning.
Yeah. We lose our best fucking humans every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bullshit. So we're going to talk about it very briefly just for a second here. Because I can't stand it. Can't go to any more funerals. And our world is not so good that we can afford to lose good humans. We don't have enough as it is.
That's right.
I'll let you know when we do. So to eliminate the threat, the most obvious solution was to kill myself. That was the most obvious solution. Mm-hmm. the ideology wasn't a complete stranger to me. I'd experienced it previous couple years prior, because my plan when my first wife died was to get rid of everything that I owned and then go at the time to Syria and fight until I died. I couldn't until I got a home for all 3 of her dogs, because they were very much her dogs. But all 3 dogs had to go to not just the right home, but the same home.
Sure.
You ever try and find a home for 3 damn dogs?
That's not easy. No.
The right home for 3 dogs?
Yeah. Right.
So, enough time went by. Well, I'm getting rid of everything I owned. Doing that's for action. That my current wife, Danette, came into my life and saved my life by taking over my life and getting pregnant. So thank you, dear. Appreciate that. So yeah, kill myself. But the problem with that is, if I do that, I'll never see him again. And that was unbearable. And I'll never see her again. And that was unbearable. And most unbearable to Master Corporal goddamn Taylor was the fact that I'm throwing away my responsibility. I'm shirking my responsibility, my duty, right? So duty to my dogs kept me alive. Duty to my kid, my wife kept me alive. Army kept me alive. Duty, responsibility, right? So I sabotaged the attempt unknowingly, but I sabotaged, and then removed myself from that immediate location, picked up my telephone that I had, and I reached out to a therapist to whom I'd been incredibly rude just the week prior. And I asked for help. And because she's a much better human than I was, she helped.
Well, so there's a lot to unpack there, I think, from this here, right? So you eventually did get in touch with this therapist and helped. In what way did the therapists, were they able to help you in terms of helping you see things more clearly? What in what ways were they able to help you out?
Oh, and in every single conceivable way, honestly. First of all, by explaining, by teaching, explaining why I was having these reactions, why I was behaving in this way, why I thought these thoughts, which ones were accurate, which ones were less accurate, which ones didn't reflect the shared reality at all, which, explaining the relationship between thought, behavior, feeling, explaining, and then helping guide me to change all of it through, through teaching and talk and exercises and all of it. Explain. And the biggest thing for me was understanding, because we all think we know what mental health and wellness is, and we all think we know what mental illness is, and we're almost all of us wrong. We unfortunately, North Americans, if not the entire world, learn from Hollywood. And Hollywood, I have noticed, is populated almost entirely by dumb people intent only on their own gratification.
And probably have their own mental illnesses to top it off.
There's a reason why they can't get enough attention.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of the guy who went on a podcast to get some attention. Not too judgy, but yeah, a lot of things that we learned that are just flat out wrong. Not necessarily because they're intending to, subvert or whatever, but it's just what they found. Like John Wayne movies. I love John Wayne movies. I grew up in John Wayne movies. John Wayne, man. Mm-hmm. John Wayne was the shit. The Duke, right? Except everything in the movies was taught badly. Think with the Cowboys. What a great movie. Teaching these kids don't feel. Tough it up.
Yeah, right.
Never apologize is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's just being nice. It's just being polite. Right? But that concept, right? And then,
Yeah.
and John Rambo. Like, I love Rambo. I am Rambo. Damn it. But again, like this, it's not that Stallone or Wayne or anybody was trying to teach us the wrong stuff. It's what we actually thought and knew at the time.
Yeah, right.
Perpetuated, and we're still doing that. So I had to unlearn a bunch of things about what it meant to be a man, first of all. And then how to be a human more than just a man, right? Understand that there were things in my body. This is what my anatomy does, my physiology does, my psychology does. This is what it does. And there's nothing you can do to change that until you actually sit down and try to change it. And you start with the behavior, because that's the easiest to control and change. Also the easiest to know what's going on, right? How do I know I'm behaving irrationally? Because I'm dragging some poor bastard out of his car through his window, right? He cut me off. And so I assume, my immediate reaction is, this guy's trying to hurt my kid. Mm-hmm. So now I'm chasing him through town to his driveway, which is safe for my kid.
Right.
Dragging him out, allegedly, hypothetically, theoretically this is happening to any police officers in the vicinity. Live this town anyway, maybe, theoretically. But yeah, so how do I know I'm being irrational? Because I'm behaving like a fucking psycho.
Yeah, right.
I'm irrational because I'm screaming at my 2-year-old for no reason. I'm irrational because I'm a lunatic. My behavior is saying, this is not okay. And part of my brain knows it's not okay, but can't stop it, can't control it, can't change it. And the stress levels keep working, and just anxiety attack, flashback, racing heart, racing mind, can't function, blackout drive, bananas. So pay attention to that, right? Learn how to recognize that when it's happening and stop it from happening. Then learn to recognize the signs of it beginning to happen, being to recognize what the circumstances around me that cause and trigger this sort of thing. And then work on getting rid of those triggers, right? I couldn't do it on my own. I needed somebody, I needed a guide, I needed instruction. How do I do this? So I learned that from psychologists. I learned that from my therapist. Plural. And they helped. And then, of course, get to a point where I realized, I reached some level of, stability, regulation, right? I can cope and function, but I'm still having these periods where I have extreme anxiety, right? Maybe it's minutes, maybe it's days and nights on end, right? And maybe I haven't had a lot of the Hollywood version of the flashback where you're physically, like you're in that place again, right? You're reliving everything that happened at that time, whatever it may be. But there's also a thing called an emotional flashback, which a lot of people don't know about, where for whatever reason, something has reminded your mind of an event from your past. Mm-hmm. And you are experiencing all of the sensations and emotions of that time in the current moment, even though they're completely unrelated. And the emotions you're experiencing now are completely you shouldn't be like, there's no reason for them. Like these are the wrong emotions for these circumstances. This is an emotion. This is a reaction from a war. This is a reaction from childhood. This is a reaction from, a car accident. This is a reaction from a previous relationship. Right? The emotions I'm having right now don't match the moment I'm in. I didn't know that. So I had to learn what that was, what an emotional flashback was, and how to walk myself out of that, right? And again, how do I do that? I had to learn that by using the body. Slow the heart rate. I can't consciously make my heart rate slow down. But what I can do is I can control my breathing.
Right.
We've all learned that in marksmanship, right? Slow the breathing. We learned, combat breathing, tactical breathing, box breathing, whatever you want to call it, right? Works. There are better methods, more effective too, if you want to learn them. But I had to walk all that back. This is the thing that's happening, physically happening. And then recognize what was happening around me that could have caused that. I learned to recognize where that came from, like why I'm having that reaction, what was right. And we have this habit, terrible habit, human beings, of you make me angry or this thing caused that. And that's not how it works. It's all in our own shit, right? I cannot make you feel anything. I can do and say things with an intention of trying to make you feel something, triggering something in you. But if you choose and you're capable of controlling your reactions and thoughts and feelings and behavior enough, then I literally cannot do anything to make you angry.
Right.
I get to meet somebody like that, but I'm sure they're out there, right? I met some really smart, wise, intelligent people, right? But you can't make me feel anything. I allow myself to experience. I can pick. If we take the moment to suck back for just a moment, I can choose which feeling I want to go with, right? Do I want to punch this guy in the throat and watch him choke to death slowly? Yes. Is that the best option at this moment? Yes. Right. Wait, no. No. Okay. So I'm going to go.
Definitely definitely no.
I'm going to go with. Wait. I'm going to go with humor because I'm being an idiot. This is actually, I can, right? It's an option. Sure. Not that I'm master at it by any stretch, but I had to learn all that. Psychologist taught me how to human better.
Yeah, and that's one of the things through all the years that I've been kind of going through that similar journey, going to talk to therapists and everything, is that maybe not every single session you have is going to be a gem where you're walking away like with a whole new outlook on the world or whatever. But every once in a while you get this one light bulb that goes off, and it's like you got no light bulbs on when you start, right? And then every once in a while, like one goes on, and then another one goes on, and another, right? Sometimes it just takes time, right? And I don't feel like I know the VA here in the US, they a lot of times will be like, well, you've been in therapy for this amount of time. Obviously it's not going to work for you if you still need it. So let's just not do it anymore. It's like, to me, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, why would you just stop with that? Right. It could be in the process of helping. Like you could be like just about to make that breakthrough, and then they're like, let's just pull it out from under you. And now you don't have it anymore, or you won't have it again for another 6 months or something stupid like that.
Who's actually crazy here?
Right. Exactly. And then, I won't go down that rabbit hole because that could be a whole nother episode.
That's more triggering than a meaning would go into. Yeah. Veterans Affairs in Canada or the US, from the American vets I know, it's the same entity. It's bureaucracy at all costs rather than. So.
Yeah. So anyways, like, those are the things that you're looking for. You're looking for those kind of light bulb moments where things go on. Like for example, I was in a therapy session, and my therapist was talking about the different coping mechanisms that you learn, along the way. And I had an issue where I was carrying everything with me. Like I was taking all of those coping mechanisms, including all the things that help you survive in the military, right? Like being aggressive, being loud and forceful and all of those things. Like that was something I was using in my everyday life. I was using that with kids. I was using that with adults. It didn't matter who it was. I was just being aggressive. And yeah, exactly. I was knife hand. I was like, do this, do that. I was like a drill sergeant with, little kids, and like, that's fucking stupid. But
my 2-year-old was knife handing me when I realized what I was doing.
And it's like, you're looking in a little mirror, right?
And
you're like, oh shit, that is a terrible mirror to be looking into. Holy crap. So, she kind of helped me like reframe my thinking and think of like a contractor who's like working on a house, building a house or something, and they have their tool belt, and those are the tools that they use pretty much every day. They got their hammer, screwdrivers, they got other things like that on that tool belt, and they're going to carry that around with them because it's easier than going back to the truck every 5 minutes to go get another tool. But they got it in the back of their truck. They got a whole huge toolbox with all this other shit that they don't use on a daily basis. Maybe they use it once a week. Maybe they use it, once a month, something like that. I don't know what the frequency is, but they're not going to carry all that stuff around with them because that would be a pain in the ass to have to carry all that stuff, that entire giant toolbox that they have in the back of their truck, strap that shit to your back and then try to get anything done. It's not going to happen. Right. And so she's like, you can leave some of your tools in that toolbox and just carry some of the other stuff that you're going to use on a day-to-day basis. Carry that stuff around with you. I was like, holy shit, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a ton of sense. So, but that was like I had been going for months to see this person. That was one of those light bulb moments that went off. And I was like, you know what? That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I don't need to be aggressive and super, super crazy all the time. I can tone some of that stuff back, and I can go back to the truck and I could go grab that tool if I need it. If someone's breaking into my house, I'm gonna be right there. Bring it.
Come on, buddy. What's your time? Yeah, exactly.
It's your time. Right? I get to use that tool again. Yeah, it's like
I keep these in my pocket, right? I put them away. I hang on to them. Right? I spent a lot of time trying to kill that guy, that part of me, right? Which is impossible. That's who that's part of me. You can't. I can't kill part of me, get rid of part of me and be okay.
You can't unlearn it, right?
Right? So when I learned to make peace with my trauma, my illness, what I'm going to call it, and let it be a part of me. But so we sat down and had a talk, my conscious, unconscious, subconscious, trauma. We had a big talk. And we all agreed trauma can't drive anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. He rides in the back seat between, conscious and unconscious, until we need him. And then he has the wheel. But we got back, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's what do I need right now? What is this an appropriate level of emotion? First of all, is this an appropriate behavior at this moment? Is this an appropriate emotion, appropriate level of emotion? Is this what I should be doing right now? Like when my kid goes, Dad, you're being a fucking dick right now. Like, woo, that's not what a 2-year-old should know.
Right.
Well done. Excellent delivery.
But put that in your back pocket until you're much older. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And the thing about therapy too, I found was, I had this idea that it's like, it's like a conventional medicine, right? I have a cold. I see the doctor. I take the medicine. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have PTSD. Or I have ADHD, or I have any fucking one of these Ds, right? The work doesn't happen in just the hour I'm with my therapist. That's where I learn, right? That's where I get my guidance, my feedback, positive, corrective, right? That's where I get my feedback, right? I learn either new tools or old tools are reinforced, right? But the work has to happen 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work. The therapist cannot fix me. The meds cannot fix me. Psychedelics, hypnosis, equine therapy, nothing can fix me except me. What has 2 thumbs? They got to sort his own fucking shit out.
Right? Yeah, exactly. This guy.
Yeah,
but you're right. You can't expect to go and deal with a mental health issue the same way that you do, a cold or a broken bone or something like that. You go to the doctor, you get a cast on, your leg, and a couple months later or however long later, it's healed, and you get the cast off, and you're good to go. And
but even there, if we use those analogies, right? Because mental illness, right? I hate the phrase actually, because our mind is our nervous system. So any damage to our nervous system is our mind, and that's what mental illness is. It's a physical injury or illness, right? If we think about that, so if you got shot or stabbed with, a nail, step on a nail. Okay, let's get away from violence. You step on a nail in your garage, right? Now you got a puncture wound in your foot, right? If you don't treat the puncture wound, now you're bleeding
Yep.
for as long as it takes to heal. And it may not, because what may happen if you don't treat it and you keep walking around, especially barefoot in your garage. Why are you barefoot in your garage in the first place? But if you don't treat it, now you get an infection. Now you have an injury and an illness, and they're making each other worse. And they are affecting every aspect of your life. Now you're catching colds more often. You're tired all the time. You're getting stressed out easier. You're being a dick to everyone you know, right? It affects every aspect of your life. You can't concentrate. You can't remember. You can't focus. You are falling apart.
Yeah.
Because you stepped on a nail and didn't treat the injury at the time properly. PTSD is an injury, a traumatic event, or series of events, or, and here's what's diabolical, we are such social animals. Humans are mammals, and we are a group species. The rugged individual is bullshit. I love Ayn Rand. She's wrong. Okay? We need other humans, so much so that we are literally wired for connection. Motor neurons. How do children, any humans learn? Easiest, we watch and replicate behavior.
Yeah.
Motor neurons. We are so wired for physical connection that our bodies release oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, all the feel-good hormones if we are in skin-to-skin contact with another human for as little as like 8 seconds, right? That's why holding hands with someone feels good. That's why we hug. That's why you cradle your kids, right? We crave it. We need it. If you look at a traumatic incident, a big thing happens. That's not a bad thing, like a great thing. Let's say it's a great birthday party surprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and a couple of your buddies walk in, and your whole family jumps out with party hats on. Great moment, right? You and your two bed buddies go, ding, right?
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, no one pulls a piece, but we're almost right, right. And then the next thing you do, the three of you go like this,
Yeah.
right? Why? You're looking at each other to determine if what you're experiencing is being experienced by them and therefore appropriate and okay. Or are you screwing up and potentially going to get tossed out of the pack? The herd, whatever that word, right?
Sure.
That happens. And anytime a big thing happens, the first thing is witnesses all look around like this. Someone should do something, right? Yeah, someone should, right? Right? We look, we are wired for connection. We need it. So, man. So,
yeah, we do. We do need that connection.
and we don't let ourselves have it as men, especially.
Yeah.
Tying back to the not talking.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I paused. I'm so sad. We do this thing, mental illness, right? Causes humans to isolate, to withdraw, while telling ourselves everyone's reading us all too often. And isolation creates mental illness, right? You can see it happen when you put a prisoner in segregation.
Mm-hmm.
3 days and 3 nights, you watch them begin to fall apart. We need each other, right? So a traumatic event happens, okay? Maybe get some rookie troops first firefight. This is traumatic.
Yep.
I don't care how tough you are. It's not normal for most people.
Right.
Now, he does great. Now, let's say he's amazing, right? Like we're talking like Medal of Honor. This guy's like Medal of Honor material. It's amazing, right? And if training kicks in, instinct, reactions, he's Audie goddamn Murphy, right? And then afterwards, him and Sarge are like hanging out, and Sarge is like, yeah, and the kid goes, has the big reaction, right? The freak out, right? And
Yeah.
Sarge, because what Sarge was taught, goes, suck it up, buttercup.
Right.
Welcome to the fucking army. Well, that negative social feedback is quite possibly what creates the PTSD, not the actual event.
Okay.
The negative social feedback, the feeling that I am wrong.
I
There is
did the
something.
wrong. Yeah.
No. I don't think I am the wrong thing.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
the childhood, right? Because guilt
Yep.
is I did a bad thing, and guilt is helpful because I don't want to
Okay.
feel a bad thing. I don't want to feel that way again. So I won't do that again. And I'm going to apologize and make
Yeah.
things right. Right? That's good. Guilt is good. Shame is I am bad. Right? So it is possible that at that moment, Sarge doing what Sarge thinks he's supposed to do gives us the PTSD.
Yeah.
How do you fix it? Positive social feedback. You talk to people who get it, people you respect, people you know have been where you've been, people you trust. You find the balance to say, this is how I felt at this time.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I feel about it now. And you be honest and open and vulnerable, which is scary as shit, but you're a tough guy, so fucking do it. And then, let me ask you, tough guy, top y'alls, whoever's out listening, let me ask you, if anyone has ever come to you, any brother or sister has ever come to you and been messed up, screwed over, sad, lonely, grief-stricken, have they ever felt like a hammer bag of shit and come to you for sympathy and kindness and compassion? Have you ever thought you're weak? Or have you thought, oh my God, I want to help you so bad. How do I help you?
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure each and every one of you, there's a couple of assholes out there, the most of you, like 99% of you, have gone, how can I help you? I feel so bad for you. What can I do for you? How can I help you feel better?
Right.
So if you feel that way about your brothers and sisters, and you know that they love you because they're your brothers and sisters, that's what you call them, why do you not think that if you come to them and say, this is what happened, this is how I felt, this is how I feel now, well,
Yeah.
I don't need advice, I just need to let it out. What's most likely going to happen? Are they going to call you a pussy, or are they going to give you a hug?
Right.
What would you do?
Yeah. The same thing you just said. I mean, help them out. What can I do to help?
Right. And that's what they did for you.
Yeah. And that's 100% true. Anybody that comes to me and they're like, I need help with something. Like, okay, well, let's figure it out.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. What is you said before, if somebody one of my buddies came to the door and they're like, hey, I fucked up. I need a place to crash. All right, come on in. Like, I'm not going to be like, geez, well, this week isn't really going to be, can you come back next week? It's like, yeah, just, go live out on the streets for a week or something. And then, see if that makes things better. You're like, no, get your ass in here. Let's sort it out and figure out what we need to do to make things right for you. Yeah, you can stay here, but, obviously not forever, but we're going to sort things out to get it to the point where you can get back out there and do the shit that you need to do. And I'm not going to look at it like it's a burden.
No.
Like you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this person came to me of all people. Like, go away, go someplace else. No.
Thank you for coming to me.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me help you. Thanks for trusting me. Yeah.
Yeah, you thought of me.
Right.
Damn, thank you. Come on in.
Right.
Get the hell in from the beer fridge.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's probably not going to help situation right now. So let's figure it out with a clear mind. But yeah, I mean,
reach out.
Reach out.
Reach out.
You're not a burden. And I think the biggest takeaways here from what you've been saying is, within your story, you use that therapist to help you, sort things out, figure things out more clearly, be able to figure out how to deal with emotions, and walk through life, not hypothetically dragging people out of their cars, not doing any of that kind of stuff. Right. But, and being a better father, a better husband, a better, just a better overall human being for the folks who are in your life. And by the way, that includes strangers too, because you're gonna have people who cut you off on the highway. You're gonna have people in the grocery store who bump into you or whatever, and you don't need to be choking them out because they did that. It's shit happens, and you just kind of take it in stride and you deal with it.
Not helpful.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't want that's not a helpful reaction.
Most of
Yeah, well, and again, there are times when maybe that is a helpful reaction. When somebody kicks in your door and now they're in your house and they're a threat to you and your family. Yep, that's a helpful reaction. And like I was saying before, you can go back to that toolbox and you can get that tool out really quickly and you can utilize it. But that doesn't need to be your default tool. You can carry it around.
Like, not everything's a nail, not everything's a hammer. Sometimes you need a hacksaw. And you mix those two up, you're not going to achieve anything.
No, exactly. Yeah. So use the right tool for the right job, I guess, is the key here to kind of take away. I don't want to wrap this episode up before we get a chance to talk about, you have a book out. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and kind of what the readers can take away from it, where they can find it, all that kind of stuff?
Well, yeah. I never pushed the book.
No, you didn't. And I'm going to push it for you. So give you a chance to do it. So go ahead. Tell us all about it.
So a few years ago, I was writing a bunch of stuff, putting stuff on social media posts to try and remove stigma for not just crusty old bastards like me, but most importantly for the younger people that I had taught the wrong shit to.
Yeah.
Right. So I was being very open about my struggles with mental illness and recovery. And I was also engaged in like emails and even letters. I'm that old. I actually write letters to people with about more detailed stuff about my recovery and things I was learning. And I was writing these emails to my son and then sons about how to avoid what happened to me and how to be a man in the world.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty sure I'd be dead one way or another before they'd be old enough. Didn't happen. Won't let it. But at one point, my wife pointed out that those all work together. They're just all three different streams going to the same river, and it's a book. And so with a great deal of the bullying. She bullied me is what she did. It was bullying. Bullying. But I put it together in a book and I found a publisher and I put it out there and it's just my story. Because it was written by a man with ADHD and PTSD and anxiety and depression and addiction and memory loss and all this stuff, it's very easy for people to read. Very short, digestible.
Sure.
It's very honest. It's very blunt. It talks about a lot of awful, horrible, painful things. And it tells you some advice on how to I got to what I got through, and maybe you want to follow some of the same path, find your own way through this and that. But it's a guideline. It's a roadmap back from suicide. And so far, I've only had a couple of people get back to me with negative responses. Only one to that and go, whatever. Which I realized because he had the perfect life. I love that guy. But for most people, especially people with trauma in their background or whatever, or someone they know who has trauma or whatever, it's proven immensely helpful. I stopped counting the positive responses at 200 just because it's overwhelming if I sit in it. But
Sure.
200 people have reached out to me in some form or another and said to the effect that, your book saved my life. And I know what they're saying, but I always have to, in my own mind, I got to go, no, my story helped you find whatever it is you needed to find in you to fix your stuff. But after 200 people saying, yeah, it's overwhelming. So I'm not making any money off it because I cut the prices. I could over the price and I cut the prices so much that, I make pennies. But dude, I'm so rich. I'm so rich. 200 plus.
And I love how you just phrased that there too, because your view on being wealthy is not financial. There's no dollar signs next to that, right? But making pennies on that. You'd have to sell a shitload of books to become financially wealthy, if that's right. So it's more.
I need to sit in often because then I do this, and I don't mind crying, and I don't mind crying in public, but
yeah, right.
I'm also a tough guy. Look at my
Right,
tattoo,
but
very tough.
But your view of this is how many people that have you been able to help? And stopping at 200 means that there's probably the 201st and 202nd and 203rd and so on, who, and not to count the people who just didn't reach out at all, right?
And then each one of those people, how many people love them?
Right.
That's where, here we go. There we go. Goosebumps and tears, damn it. So,
yeah, and so that's the thing is you help all these people, not just those individuals directly, but their network of people, their loved ones, their families, their people, the people in their lives. You've helped them, whether they know it or not. Their life is better now because those folks are still around. And I think as far as takeaways go, with this episode for the listeners, the people who are around you that you might feel, even if you feel the same way that Sheridan was saying earlier, that I am the threat to these people and I don't want them to have a threat in their lives. And so I need to eliminate that threat. Well, no, maybe you need to change something about you internally, change how you react to things and stuff like that.
What do you want to be?
Yeah. Who do you want to be?
And go be that person. Right.
And
I didn't know how to be a dad.
Yeah.
But I knew what I was doing was wrong. So what did I do? I started acting like the person that I wanted my kid to be.
Yeah.
And you do anything long enough, it's a fucking habit. So I was faking my shit so long, I became the man I want my kids to be.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you want to be?
Exactly. And really think about that question. And, dead is not what any of us want to be. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help the people in your life. It's not going to help anyone. So, stick around. Wake up tomorrow. And,
I need you here, I need you here to buy my book.
Go buy the book because he needs a few more cents coming his way.
Yeah. It's called Not Okay, a roadmap back from the brink. You can get it on Amazon. If you don't like Amazon for whatever reason, it's in Barnes and Noble. Apparently it's on, it's in like Barnes and Noble bookstores. You can get it, apparently, I'm told, through pretty much all the online book platforms.
Okay.
It's on Audible and Kindle to them, I guess. Yeah, both of those two as well.
Excellent. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to at least a couple of those places, where people can get the book, and I'll put the title in there so at a minimum they can Google it if they don't like the platform I chose to put in there. But they can find it. But Sheridan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, hearing a little bit about your story, and your journey to where you are today. I think it's really inspiring, and you put a lot of great perspectives. And I think there might be some light bulb moments in some of the folks in the audience who are listening. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on and sharing your story.
Actually, and you can find me on the social medias if you need better clarification or whatever. Or just want to yell at me, my combination. Cool. But it's Sheridan Taylor. Taylor Sheridan wrote Yellowstone. Different guy. He's rich. I'm not. Different guy. Sheridan Taylor.
Excellent. Well, I'll have all those links as well in the show notes as far as your socials, so we don't start yelling at the wrong person.
Come on.
All right. Thanks again.